And here we are.
Hello, everybody.
Hey, so I was about to say good morning, but it's lunchtime.
It is. It's 11:59. So good morning. Hello. Happy Tuesday. So this is our third Tuesday Ear Tech Talk, and we are so grateful to have some representatives from a company called Unitron, which many of you know. This is my favorite hearing aid company. Not to be biased, probably shouldn't have said that, but you are my favorite. Unitron is a Canadian hearing aid company, and we have Susan Anderson, and we have Bill Richman, who is a doctor of audiology, but he prefers go by Bill.
Yep. Yeah. Call me Bill. It's fine.
They're going to be showing us all the really cool stuff that's been going on behind the scenes in research and development with Unitron. So I want to just review some housekeeping notes with you all. If you've never been here before, if you're live, on the right, on the bottom, there is a chat box, and you can type in questions there. We're going to go through the whole presentation, but to answer those questions in order that they arise. Okay, so at any time you can do that. If you want to type in where you're watching us from, so we know where you are in the world, what you're eating for lunch, you can practice typing into that chat box. You can't break it or anything. It's all good. But and if you have any questions that you definitely were thinking coming into this that you wanted to ask, you don't want to forget, just put it in the chat. You're not going to disrupt anybody. So I hope that this is really entertaining for you. This is just like going to, I guess, a hearing aid show. You know, there are car shows that they've had for years. I don't know if it's happening this year, but like Philadelphia Car Show, the Chicago Car Show, and people go and they may or may not want to buy new hearing aids, but they're interested in what's available now, or they just want to hear about the new cool technology. And so that's why we're doing this. Alrighty. So, oh, Bill, you're from Minneapolis? Oh, that's so great. Yeah, so obviously most of us are in the Chicagoland area. Oh, Lindsay, you're in Lamont. Hi, Paul. Thanks for coming. Okay, so if anybody else wants to chat in where they're at, Oswego, nice. Alrighty. So what I'm going to do is start the presentation in one moment. Okay, so if you've ever been here before, you just know that this webinar is really going to attempt to give you the insider's view. I would like you to try to focus, but if you're eating lunch, I totally get it. But try to stay with us to the end because we have some really cool things to reveal for you and maybe even a little extra bonus. As you know, here at Advanced Audiology Consultants, our goal is to listen to you, to hear your concerns, find out why you're struggling. We get it. This is not easy to schedule this appointment. It's not easy to admit that you're struggling with something. And we want to make sure that you know that you're being taken care of, you're receiving the best treatment and care that you could possibly have. And we want to just reduce your overwhelm by taking you through this journey. So you may have met Lindsay, but she is our patient care coordinator who is scheduling you and doing the best she can to meet your schedule and our schedule. And we try to find appointments that are meeting with the right amount of time, not just at the time you want, but making sure that we can spend enough time with you. We try to get some information ahead of time online, so it goes right into your patient portal, so that when we're actually meeting face-to-face, even with masks on, that we're actually present and listening, and we've already learned things from you. We're also scheduling 15-minute telehealth conversations before you would even come in, like on a different day. So you and I can chat live without a mask on. I can get your whole history and your concerns then. So when you arrive for your real appointment, we just go straight to the testing and then explaining your test results and moving forward. As you know, your history and listening to what you've been dealing with is a big deal. You know, your health history, what's happened with your noise exposure. And we're taking that all together and using best practices to ensure that we're diagnosing you correctly. We want to make sure that your follow-up care is optimal for you. We don't treat you like just anybody else. We treat you as your individual. And we want to create a long-term approach so that you are rehabilitating your brain as we are correcting the hearing. So the history is really important. Going over your test results, we always give you a copy of your test results to take home. Some places do not. It's your medical record. We think you need that. We want, even if you're just getting a baseline, we want something to compare to for the future. And then we also always, and I know that Bill's going to talk about this, we always give you the option to demonstrate hearing aids and take them home. Because we really feel like the day that you finally come in and you've made this decision to do something, we want to make sure that you go home already starting the process of rehabbing your brain. You've waited maybe 7 years. That's the average amount of time people wait before they do something about their hearing. 7 years. Do you want to wait another week, 2 weeks, a month before you actually start hearing better? No, we're going to give you the option to try something that initially right away we're trying to meet your acoustic needs. But we're going to take into consideration your lifestyle, your dexterity, your ability to push buttons, your vision. Can you see? Do you want rechargeable, non-rechargeable? Why? Are you a marathon runner, or do you tend to have a more sedentary lifestyle? We're using real ear measurement to make sure that we're measuring what's really in your ears and help supplement what we're programming through the computer. These are little computers that you're wearing, and we have to program the computer chips. So we also have a long-term plan for you, a written guide that you take home that we call the Hearing Wellness Plan. We don't want to assume anything. We give you written homework. I even designed an online oral rehab program that all of my patients get, that you're learning about why hearing is important, communication tips, strategies, how to take care of the hearing aids, where to sit in different places. And then there's 2 modules with about 10, 15 oral listening strengthening exercises. So there's nothing like this anywhere in the country, and audiologists all over the place are using it. And if you're my patient, you get it. So lastly, we're scheduling all of your appointments as appropriately as possible. We want to give you priority over anyone that just comes in. If you're scheduling a new evaluation, you want to maybe upgrade your hearing aids, or you're starting from scratch, we're going to give you the right amount of time straight away. So in general, as you know, I could cut corners. I could do just the bare minimum and just say, hey, you have a hearing loss? I'm going to sell you a hearing aid. Here you go. Bye-bye. And I don't. And anyone that works here, and even the students who come from Rush, that are the doctoral students that are with me, they know that our culture is all about integrity and trying to do what's best for you. And yeah, we might spend extra time, but we think that it's extra time that's definitely needed. So ask questions in the box, and we're going to get to that at the end. And I would like to introduce to you Dr. Bill Chrisman, who wants to be called Bill. And he is our actual national trainer, right? You're pretty high up on this ladder, aren't you?
And it's 21 years with Unitron. So I've worked my way up on that, but yeah, so.
It's amazing. So great. So I'm going to step away and
we'll take it from here. All right. Well, thank you for that there, Dr. Hyman. So thanks everyone for kind of joining us here today. I'm super excited to have this opportunity to kind of share with you a little bit about Unitron, and talk a little bit about us as a company, and most excited just to kind of share what's new from hearing aid capability. Because I know that one thing that is for sure when it comes to hearing aids is that the technology is always evolving. There's always something kind of new coming around the corner. And we've definitely seen that, the technology and what we can do with hearing aids today is really pretty amazing stuff. We have Bluetooth connectivity that allows us to be able to connect the hearing aids, directly to our cell phones. Can also connect to other, computers or tablets or other Bluetooth devices. We can, there's just all kinds of things that we have there, and also just the level of personalization and flexibility and customizing that we can do with hearing aids now is really some pretty interesting stuff. And I've been with Unitron now 21 years. I'm a bit of a hearing aid nerd, so I can kind of geek out on some of this stuff. So, feel as I'm talking about things here, feel free to kind of type things in the chat. As Dr. Hyman said earlier, we're going to kind of try to address everything in a Q&A session at the end. But by all means, please, if I start to talk about something and it prompts a question, go ahead and type it in there, and we'll address that. So, what I wanted, we're going to share with you, I'm going to talk a little bit today about the details of our latest product line, which is our Discover Next platform of hearing aids. Before I get into the details and kind of talking about the details of the hearing aids, I just kind of like to, share a little bit of background about Unitron. And some of you, that may already be patients of Dr. Hyman's may already be wearing Unitron hearing aids. But just to tell you a little bit about the company, if you haven't heard of Unitron or don't know about us, we're a Canadian-based company, as mentioned earlier. Our headquarters is in Kitchener, Ontario. It's about 60 miles or so, kind of southwest outside of Toronto, southwestern Ontario, in a region that is called the Waterloo region. Unitron's history was originally founded by three gentlemen back in 1964 that came from a background of television and electronics repair was their background. And so the rumor has it that they got their start in hearing aids by they had somebody who came in to the shop who had a hearing aid that was broken. And since they were in like television and electronics repair, had asked if they thought they could do anything with the hearing aid. And so the story goes that kind of sparked their curiosity and their interest in hearing aid technology, and in creating a company that started as a Canadian-based organization. And today we are part of a global manufacturing, or we're part of Sonova, one of the world leaders in hearing healthcare, that employs in total about 15,000 employees around the world who all work to develop and manufacture and distribute, different types of hearing solutions, for people with hearing loss. And so for Unitron, our corporate headquarters is, like I said, there in Kitchener, Ontario. And so that's where we design the Unitron products and services for folks with hearing loss. And so, at Unitron, we kind of philosophically, we think that, it's really important for people to feel good about the entire experience of getting hearing aids from start to finish, from that first point of like, maybe my hearing's not what it should be, and maybe hearing aids would be of help, having that opportunity to try amplification without any pressure to buy hearing aids, but having that opportunity to try it, see if the technology is going to work for you. And then also have, one of the other things that Unitron's really committed into is creating tools that allow levels of customization and personalization of the hearing aids that are just difficult to find elsewhere. And it's all with this end goal of creating an experience that will be memorable for you, and that it's a positive one, that it's not something you dread, but you actually look forward to the opportunity to get new hearing aids. Whoops, get my computer straightened out here. So, in that we kind of just talk, if we're getting into the details of the hearing aids, I just always kind of like to talk a little bit about, just sound in general, because that's kind of what we're in the business of sound and hearing. And if you think about it, hearing really is a pretty incredible phenomenon. Our ability to hear, it does so many things for us. It enables us to be able to communicate, to understand our surroundings. It can alert us to danger, but it also gives us enjoyment. Sound, it's also recognized sound has a very emotional quality to it. And I think most everybody has some sort of a favorite sound. I know I do. I'm sure you do as well. Maybe you saw your favorite sound just as we passed around, some of those other images, the crackle of a fire, that crunch of the snow as you walk across it in the winter. Now, me being here in Minnesota, like there comes a point in about February where I've heard all this crunching snow I can take. But for some people, it's their favorite sound. The list goes on and on. Me personally, my favorite sound is that of my Great Danes welcoming me home. just a little bit about me. I'm a dog lover. I've had dogs ever since childhood, and my two most recent are two Great Danes. And there is something just kind of indescribable for me about that sound of 250 pounds of dog losing their mind when my car pulls in the driveway. That's kind of like, oh, dad's home type of a thing. And so that's really, a big thing for me. Now, I put this picture up here kind of as a bit of a joke, because I'm sure any of you that are, pet owners have maybe at some point in the past had some, destruction or damage done in the house caused by one of these wonderful pets that we have. For me, the humor to this was that I actually had a kind of several different real life experiences similar to this. It's got a little picture there. These are my two babies, Gabe and Greta. That they had a twin mattress, and the emphasis was had, that they used as kind of their dog bed that I kept in when I was gone during the day. That was their dog bed that they would sleep on. And so normally, like I said, my favorite sound was just always just the racket that would explode that I could hear outside when I pull in, when they'd see the car pull in the driveway and they'd kind of lose their minds. One day I got home from work and I knew something was up, because as I came into the garage, the house was quiet, total like crickets. And so I come upstairs and I come and look in, and what you see here is the sight that I saw. Two dogs that knew that they'd done something they shouldn't have done, had like basically chewed one half of the mattress like off, and it was shredded all over the floor. Dogs wouldn't even make eye contact with me. They knew they'd made a bit of a mistake there. But nonetheless, even for that, like, still one of my favorite sounds was that idea of, the dogs, welcoming me home at the end of the day. So when we talk about all of these, sounds here, I'm sure you all have your own personal favorites, for sounds. But I think when we kind of take a step back at it and we think about sounds, really there are kind of the importance or influence of sound can really be distilled down into three basic areas or categories. The first of which is, this idea of safety, just, the idea when you're out, driving or walking, when you're in public places, having, for an element of just your own personal safety. Tying to that is this idea of environmental awareness, that you're aware of when the phone's ringing or the doorbell's chimed, smoke detectors, things like that. That environmental awareness ties closely in with your safety too. And then, the third area, and probably one of the significant ones that has a kind of a daily impact for folks, is when we talk about your quality of life, and recognizing that, that it's the quality of life is this one area that is probably the most tangibly felt as a loss with your hearing, because we know that, hearing is important because it helps to connect us to people and our surroundings. And so when we have difficulty with hearing, the connections that we have to other people suffer, and that can really have a pretty serious, emotional impact for people. And so, one of the things, either you or you have loved ones who maybe have suspected that that they have either you suspect that maybe you have a hearing loss, or you suspect that a family member has a hearing loss. And so one of your questions becomes, well, now what? What's the next step that I would do with this? And so, if you haven't had a hearing test yet, or if your loved one that you suspect has a hearing loss hasn't had a hearing test, that's going to be your first place to start. I mean, that kind of goes without saying. But really, that's the first step in the process, is to, book an appointment with Dr. Hyman so she can confirm whether you or your loved one, have a hearing loss, what type of hearing loss it is, and whether, how hearing aids might be of benefit for you. Now, I know for a lot of you that are joining here today, you're already a patient of Dr. Hyman. So maybe, you already have had a hearing test and you already know that you have a hearing loss. Maybe you already have hearing aids, or maybe you're still kind of in that phase of like checking things out and thinking about and trying to decide if hearing aids would be helpful for you. And if that's, and so you're in that space of thinking about, do I really need hearing aids? And I'm happy to report there are a number, there's a lot of research to kind of show that, the positive effects of wearing hearing aids. We know that research has shown that wearing hearing aids, it provides significant improvements in people's social, emotional, their psychological, and their physical well-being. Sorry, come on here, computer. And we know that when you have hearing loss and you're wearing hearing aids, it requires less energy on your part to engage in conversation. You don't have to work as hard to listen to the conversation and focus on what's being said when you wear hearing aids. And we know that this is important because we also know research that shows that individuals with hearing aids, we tend to spend almost 2/3 of our day-to-day experience engaging in conversation of some sort with other people. And if you think about that, that's really a pretty big number. Two-thirds of your day where you're kind of up and, not counting time you're asleep, that doesn't count. But if you did think about like in your day-to-day experience from when you get up in the morning to when you go to bed at night, on average, when we look at the data globally for people, we spend 2/3 of our time engaging in some sort of, communication or conversation with other people. So if you have hearing loss and you're having to struggle to focus on the conversation, things like that, that's physically and emotionally draining. And we know that wearing hearing aids in that case helps to reduce that demand on your system, so it's not as physically demanding to communicate. Really exciting when we look at the benefit of hearing aids, according to data from the National Council on Aging, we see that 93% of people that wear hearing aids report significant improvements in their quality of life. So people acknowledge that they get, benefit in their personal relationships, their self-esteem, and overall quality of life. Now, the really super interesting thing about this is that it's not just the people wearing the hearing aids that report the benefit. It's also family members that report that the person gets benefit from the hearing aids. And the piece that I think is kind of fun about this is that the family members, on average, report 15% greater benefit than what the wearers themselves do. So I think it just kind of helps to attest to the fact that, even as the individual wearing hearing aids, if you recognize that they're beneficial to you, your family members and those around you, they recognize the benefit even more than what you do personally. Okay. So having said that, one question that I always kind of like to pose to the group is, what do you currently think about hearing aids? What has been your experience with them, or what's your perception of them? And I know so if you have any, kind of thoughts around that you'd like to share in the chat, please feel free. But I know that for a lot of people, there are maybe still some hesitations. They've had friends that had hearing aids, or they remember experiences that their parents or their grandparents had with hearing aids, and that they squealed, they were uncomfortable. There was this big bulky beige piece of plastic, and it wasn't necessarily a good experience. And so I know that for a lot of people, there's still that perception out there. And I just have a little video here that I'd like to share with you real quick. It's introducing a woman by the name of Nanette. And Nanette is actually a retired commercial airline pilot, lives in Canada, so you might hear it in her accent. And Nanette she knew she had hearing loss, but had been kind of hesitating about hearing aids. And so we just have a couple of video snippets, one of which I show really, I think, kind of encapsulates really well what some people's hesitation about hearing aids or some of the questions. So with a little magic here, I'm going to switch this over.
When I imagine a hearing aid, I imagine it as being this really big, bulky beige thing in your ear and has this stigma attached to it. I keep thinking I'm 63 years young, not old. And so I shouldn't have hearing loss, and I shouldn't have to be wearing a hearing aid. I think that's why I've put off having my hearing tested and going to an audiologist and being fitted for a hearing aid. I had no idea they were so sophisticated and that I had that opportunity to try before I buy. I'm really excited about it.
So I don't know if that, that sentiment that Nanette expressed there, if that maybe resonated for any of you. But I think, it's a common thing that I hear as I, spend time, with audiologists and help, when they're doing events like this and talking to people about the potential benefit of hearing aids. It's something that comes up fairly often. And the piece, that I'm, happy to kind of talk about is that, things are definitely different. This is just an example of one of our latest hearing aid technologies is our new Moxie Move hearing aid. Come on, what's going on here? So, this great little technology here, it allows for all kinds of wireless connectivity to your mobile phone, to your TV, other devices. Very easy to use, convenient in that it comes with, it's rechargeable technology. You don't even have to think about replacing batteries anymore. The connectivity that allows for your cell phone or for other Bluetooth devices allows you to stream the signal and be able to hear it directly in both ears. And for phone calls, because we use Bluetooth Classic technology, it allows for completely hands-free phone conversations. So when I'm on a call, I don't have to talk into the handset of my phone anymore. I can just put my phone down, and it uses the hearing aid microphones to pick up my voice. So lots of improvement in the technology in that regard. Today's hearing aids obviously look quite a bit different than what they have in the past. They're actually winning international product design awards. There are people now that are hired that really just focus on the look and feel and how it's going to sit behind a person's ear. They're much smaller than they used to be. And there's all kinds of personalization that can be done to match the particulars of the hearing aid technology to your lifestyle and the environments that you spend time in. And one of the things that, and Dr. Hyman mentioned this, that one of the things that they feature in their practice is the ability to, for you to try the hearing aids before you buy them. Additionally, technology can be upgraded over time. If your listening needs change, there are things that can be done to upgrade the technology so you can unlock and get more performance out of the hearing aids later, should your need change. And of course, connectivity with an app, having the ability for like remote control functionality through an app on your phone and being able to make some other personalization or customization of how the hearing aids sound for you right from the app on your phone. Then also from a feature set perspective, there are way more things that we can do in terms of fine-tuning the performance of the hearing aids. As I mentioned, that customization is at a level that we've never seen before in hearing aids. Algorithms that run on the hearing aids are getting better and better at being able to reduce background noise to make the hearing aids more comfortable, and having features now in the hearing aids that can help to kind of focus on speech and do things to kind of help enhance and help kind of lift this, focus on the speech and attenuating some of the background noise. The convenience of rechargeable technology and the connections of, to your mobile phone or other Bluetooth enabled devices as well. So let's skip that. So from here, I think, what I wanted to kind of get to from here, because we know that, this decision, like if you're either considering hearing aids for the first time, or maybe you've already had hearing aids and it's now they're getting to be 4 or 5 years old, and you're starting to think maybe it's time to start looking at new hearing aids. I'm sure, y'all have, some questions about this, kind of regardless of where you are at the stage in the process. And so as kind of what I would like to do here, for the, this next section of the presentation, is just to kind of work through some of these potential questions and kind of unpack some of the most common ones that I hear, and kind of be able to talk about how the technology in Unitron hearing aids is going to relate and address some of these questions or issues. So one of the first things that, that comes up for folks is, will the hearing aids, are people going to be able to notice that I'm wearing them? How big are these going to be? Are they how noticeable? And kind of related to that, people want to know, how comfortable are they going to be? Is it something they're going to have to get used to? Is it going to hurt behind their ear or anything like that? And the reality being that hearing aids now, they come in all different sizes. And generally, the size and the style of the hearing aid, these are usually going to be determined by factors such as, the amount of hearing loss that you have, the size of your ear, and then you also got to factor, your preference. Like if you're really concerned about the size of it, there are options that are smaller, and there just might be some trade-offs in terms of some of the functionality or performance. But generally speaking, the greater your hearing loss, we're going to be looking at a slightly larger hearing aid that you possibly need. But there's lots of options that are out there, and that's part of what Dr. Hyman is going to sit down and do, is to be able to help sit with you and figure out what style option is going to be the best for you. Just to kind of highlight a couple of particular examples, one of our newer products are our Moxie family of hearing aids, and these are our receiver in the canal products. And so they're designed to sit so that the receiver, or the speaker that produces the sound, actually sits at the end of a little thin wire. So the wire kind of runs down and it sits down in your ear, and the speaker sits down in your ear, or the receiver. And so the really nice thing about these is that it allows your ear to remain open. So you're not plugging, you don't tend to get like this plugged up or occluded feeling. Like sometimes if we kind of take like if you put your fingers in your ears, or when you wear earphones, like for listening to music while working out or something like that, you get kind of that occluded, plugged up feeling. These RIC products are really nice for that they allow the ear to stay open. So they have a very natural sound quality to them. And if your hearing should progress over time and it needs to be made stronger, we can easily kind of swap out the speaker that's on the device. So it kind of has more built-in ability to grow with an individual if their hearing needs change. Now, sometimes folks are very interested in, the cosmetics. They want to make sure that, they want as small as possible. And we have options in that regards too. This is a picture to kind of illustrate the size of what we call our invisible in the canal device, or our IIC. So it's a nice small size, sits completely down in the ear canal. So it really gets kind of the cosmetic advantage there. Being able to kind of sit further down, it's kind of recessed from any wind noise that might happen when you're outside. So good sound quality, performance, but really kind of more focusing on the cosmetic appeal of things. When we go to these smaller sizes, may not necessarily have the options for connectivity for Bluetooth and other devices like that. So there's kind of, it ranges all in between, and that's what Dr. Hyman can kind of help sort out with you, kind of based on your hearing loss and what your concerns or preferences might be, to kind of find what's the right solution going to be for you. So another question that comes up commonly: do I really need 2 hearing aids, or is my hearing that bad that I need 2? Can I get by with 1? We hear variations on that all the time. And in reality, we think about, that if you have hearing loss in both ears, it just naturally makes sense. The best solution is going to be to wear hearing aids for both sides. Number of reasons for this. Our brain is wired, we're wired to hear in stereo. We're wired to get signal in both ears. And so we know that people do better with hearing aids when we have if they have hearing loss in both ears, by wearing 2 hearing aids. Kind of like with vision, like the days of the monocle where we just put one lens up on one eye, those days are long gone. The brain is wired to hear better with input from both sides in a number of regards. It creates a stereo quality, so that the volume can be worn lower than if we have it just on one side. Also, because the brain is wired for input from both ears, it becomes, there's some certain things that the brain can do to kind of help filter out some of the background noise naturally by having an equal input in both ears. Now, in addition to just that, the human element of things, now with hearing aid technology, there are a number of features that have been created in hearing aids that actually rely on having 2 devices in order for the feature to work. Because the 2 hearing aids now, they've got computer chips in them, so they're, running algorithms, running programs to make adjustments. But the 2 hearing aids can actually also talk to each other. And so, like in the Unitron product line, one example is this feature that we call spatial awareness. And so this is something that's kind of, it's a clever feature where the 2 hearing aids actually talk together to help improve your ability to localize and know where sounds are coming from. Sometimes for folks, either as hearing loss develops, or with older models of hearing aid technology, one of the challenges would be we could turn things up so that you could hear your phone ringing, but you may not necessarily be able to tell where those sounds are coming from in space. Well, now today, Unitron hearing aids have this feature that we call spatial awareness that helps to restore some of those cues that your brain needs to localize and figure out where sounds are coming from. But in order for that feature to work, we need the 2 hearing aids together so that they can talk to each other to help figure those things out. Another area, kind of, question 3 here, I think is where we're at, in terms of things that come up from people is, will hearing aids are they going to be loud or uncomfortable? This one, I think I hear from folks when it's maybe they had a parent or they remember their grandparent having hearing aids, and that they remember that it used to whistle all the time, or that their grandparents didn't like wearing it. So because it was uncomfortable, or they were bothered by, if something loud happened in the room, it would make them jump because it was sudden and uncomfortable. And hearing aids today, within the Unitron line, we have all kinds of features that are designed to help create a more comfortable, more natural listening experience. So there are algorithms or features in the hearing aids, such as the feedback manager. So this is a feature in the hearing aid that it's looking for that whistle that sometimes would happen. Like if you remember, like your parents or your grandparents, or maybe if you had older hearing aids, that occasionally, like when you put your hand up or if somebody would hug you and the hearing aid would start to whistle. They have algorithms now that can actually detect when that feedback is starting to occur and can cancel that feedback out. We also have features like wind noise managers that help to make for more comfortable listening when you're outside. Like one thing that sometimes is a complaint for people that are like golfers or outdoor enthusiasts, that when they're outside and it's windy, the air moving across their microphones makes uncomfortable, makes things loud or unpleasant. We have wind noise management algorithms now that do a nice job of making, you can still hear the noise, but it's more comfortable. It's not, causing you to want to turn the hearing aids down or anything like that. And then anti-shock. Anti-shock is a great feature that we've had in our hearing aids now for years that really helps to take some of that, those sudden jarring sounds that maybe used to make people jump a little bit, like even like the sounds of a door slamming or keys dropping on the floor. It just helps to make them more comfortable so you can still hear them, but it takes that edge off so they're not uncomfortable or unpleasant. Another area where people ask questions about is they want to know if they're going to have to tinker with their hearing aids, or what they're looking for is something that they can put in their ear and not have to worry about it. They just want to be able to kind of not have to fuss with it, don't want to have to push any buttons or make any other adjustments to the devices. And one area that I'm really happy about, like the technology in hearing aids has really improved, dramatically in this regard. The need for making manual adjustments to hearing aids is really, it's a thing of the past anymore. Hearing aids are now fully automatic, and they can seamlessly adjust to most any environment that you'll find yourself in. And if you want greater control, if you want to have the ability to kind of put it into a specific mode, we still have the option for manual adjustments. But I know that most people, they're looking for kind of a hands-free. They don't want to have to fool with it. And so in Unitron hearing aids, we have this feature that we call Sound Nav. And Sound Nav is a feature that it automatically identifies and groups different types of sound signals into 7 different categories, or different types of listening environments. And it can automatically adjust all of the features in the hearing aids to provide the best performance in these different categories. So the hearing aids are smart enough to recognize, am I in a quiet one-on-one conversation, or are there going to be like 2 or 3 of us sitting down at a local coffee shop, like down at Starbucks, something like that? Or am I in a situation where there's more people talking in the background, like out at a social event in a restaurant, something of that nature? Is the background noise something than other people talking? Is it like when you're riding in the car and you've got the road noise of traffic, or you're walking down the street or riding the train, and the background noise is more mechanical things? The hearing aids can now actually recognize the difference between these different types of environments, and they can adjust for this all automatically. And so they recognize if speech is present, we can adjust the features to help make sure to optimize the understanding of speech. And if speech isn't there, it can automatically adjust and make sure that it's a more comfortable listening experience. And that kind of ties into, along with that, this idea of the naturalness. And so this is a feature that, kind of related to the Sound Nav automatic program. Our hearing aids have this Sound Conductor feature. And Sound Conductor is a feature in the hearing aids that is looking to make sure that it's always using the features that make the most sense for the particular environment that you find yourself in. So again, if the system recognizes that people are, that there's other people talking in the background and there's, speech that you're trying to listen to, it can adjust the hearing aids to kind of put focus on that speech signal. But if nobody's talking and it's more just kind of noise running in the background, it can automatically adjust to make sure that we maintain a comfortable listening, but that you're still aware of what's going on around you. So it all helps to contribute to this just in general cleaner, clearer speech and just a more natural listening experience, regardless of what types of environments you're spending time in. Now, sometimes people, we talk a little bit about conversation, and so people they want to know a little bit more about, well, tell me more about what are these hearing aids actually going to do that's going to help me in different types of conversations. And so this is, one area in particular when we talk about understanding of speech. If you remember what I mentioned earlier, way back at the beginning, we know that people spend up to on average, about 2/3 of their time engaging in conversation of different types with other people. And so this becomes an important area to know, well, what are these hearing aids going to do to help me in all of these conversations? And so with our new Discover Next products, it's actually been really exciting. We've got 2 brand new features that are part of the Discover Next platform that really help to provide better performance and to help you hear conversation better in different types of environments. One of the 2 new features is a feature that we call Soft Speech Lift. Now, this feature is designed to really try to help. It can recognize even quieter levels of speech than what we've been able to do in the past. Because I know sometimes for folks, even when we get, one of the things they might notice with their hearing loss is that they have difficulty maybe hearing their grandkids, or they have difficulty hearing other family members, or maybe if people are still working, sometimes they will come in and they will talk about that when they're at work, there are certain coworkers that in meetings they have trouble hearing because they're just a soft-spoken individual. Or they'll say, if my spouse, my husband or my wife, if they're not looking right at me, I sometimes struggle to understand what they're saying. So Discover Next here, in order to help with those types of situations, those softer speech conversations, Discover Next hearing aids now have a new feature called Soft Speech Lift that's designed to help enhance those softer speech sounds and making soft-spoken people like your grandkids, other family members, easier to hear than whatever we could do before. So this Soft Speech Lift gives a great boost in performance in kind of quieter one-on-one conversations, really giving you more access to kind of the subtle nuances of speech and being able to pick up on the words that are being said. But we also know, the other new feature that we added with Discover Next is to help with better performance in more challenging background noise listening situations. So, for a lot of people, this is where hearing loss has a big impact, is being able to follow conversation when there's other competing noise that happens in the background. So with Discover Next, we've got this really kind of a cool new feature in the hearing aids that we call Speech Pro. And this is Speech Pro, this is another one of these features that it actually relies on having 2 hearing aids. So with this Speech Pro feature, wearing 2 hearing aids, when you are in a situation where there's other noise happening in the background, and whether it's other people talking in the background, or it's, road noise or machine noise on the train, things like that, the 2 hearing aids are able to talk to each other and be able to, they can identify speech out of the noise and be able to localize or triangulate where is that speech coming from. Is the speech coming from in front of me? Is the speech coming from behind me? Or is it coming from beside or behind me? Or, from one of my 2 sides? And then based on the hearing aids being able to kind of triangulate and figure out where is that speech coming from, the system can actually adjust the microphones to be able to focus in on that speech, and they can adjust and track the speech if somebody's talking beside me versus in front of me, or if somebody starts talking behind me. So there's this really great new feature that we have with the Discover Next that does a great job of being able to identify that speech when it's coming from around you and kind of trying to help further lift that speech out of the competing background noise. So another area of questions that people oftentimes come up with is related to performance, or how can they connect their hearing aids to their phone? say, or I've got an iPhone or I've got an Android, like, am I able to connect these hearing aids to my phone? And I'm very excited to be able to say in no uncertain terms that you absolutely can connect our Discover Next hearing aids to any variety of cell phone or other Bluetooth enabled device. One of the things that's, for me, that's really kind of, exciting about our wireless technology in our hearing aids is that it's not just working like what we call like made for iPhone. A lot of hearing aid manufacturers have technology that allows the hearing aid to be paired with an iPhone, but that technology doesn't work for folks with an Android model phone. Our hearing aids, the wireless technology that we use, it works for all different types of Bluetooth devices. So it can work for an iPhone. It can also work for an Android device. It can be paired to like Bluetooth on your tablet or your computer, things not necessarily mobile phones. Even for folks that have a flip phone, maybe if you don't have a smartphone, but still have a flip open phone with actual keys, which there are days where I'm kind of jealous of that. But even with the traditional flip phones, as long as it has a compatible Bluetooth profile, the Discover Next hearing aids can be paired with that phone. And then, so in addition to having that ability to connect to all different types of phones and Bluetooth devices, one of the other things that's kind of unique in the industry with the Discover Next hearing aids is that when you're making a phone call, it actually, what's cool about this to me is that it actually, when you're on a phone call, it uses the hearing aids like a Bluetooth headset. So when I make a call, like when I answer a call, I can just simply, like if my phone starts to ring, I don't have to pick up my phone. I can just push a button on my hearing aid and it answers the call, and I can hear the phone call in both ears. And so I can carry on my conversation. And so it allows for true hands-free phone calls. I don't have to, like with some of the made for iPhone technology, maybe if you've had experience with that in the past, the made for iPhone technology, you can hear the call in both ears, but it's one-way audio. It goes from the phone to your hearing aids, but you still have to talk into the phone in order for the person on the other end of the line to be able to hear you. With our hearing aids, you don't need the phone. Just set that down, and it just has a Bluetooth connection to the between the hearing aids and the phone. When I answer the call, I carry on the conversation. It's actually using the microphone on my hearing aid to pick up my voice and send that to the person on the other end of the call. So I've used the button to answer the call. I have my conversation. I can sit here, work at my desk, and do what I'm doing. When I'm done with the call, I can push and hold the button on the hearing aid to hang up the call. So we get that true hands-free performance, all without ever having to pick up and touch the phone there. Sometimes people have questions about, fine tuning, or like after that initial fitting, as I'm learning and I'm adjusting to my hearing aids, how can things be fine tuned or adapted to my needs? And if you remember at the beginning, one of the things I commented that for Unitron, one of our commitments, and our passions is creating features and tools to help allow, high degrees of customization and personalizing of the hearing aids for your listening needs and the environments that you spend time in. So there are a number of tools and features that we have in our product line that help to allow for kind of greater fine tuning and customizing after that initial programming of the hearing aids. Driven, from the app, we have the ability in the hearing aids have this feature that's called Log It All. And this Log It All feature, if you've worn Unitron hearing aids in the past, maybe Dr. Hyman has shown you this before, but there's a feature in the hearing aids called Log It All that it actually records how much time you spend in different types of listening environments. So it can keep track of what type of situations you spend time in, and that helps Dr. Hyman to be able to recognize, well, what would be the best solution for you? Like, are you in environments where it uses all of those bells and whistles that we get in higher levels of hearing aids? Or are those features not getting used all that often, and are your needs maybe met with a lower level of technology? So the hearing aids help to collect that data so that Dr. Hyman can look at that and kind of have an informed discussion with you about what's the best solution for you. Also in the app, there's an opportunity that you can actually go in and make ratings of your listening experience. So if you're having a good experience in a certain environment, you can give it a positive rating. If you're having trouble in a particular environment, you can give it a negative rating. And then the app collects those details about what were the hearing aids doing. And so when you have a follow-up consultation with Dr. Hyman, and she hooks the hearing aids up to the computer and can read all this data out, she can see exactly what was happening in the hearing aids in those moments when you were either having a good experience or when you were having trouble. And so it can help her to figure out what's going to be the best way to fine tune or otherwise adjust the hearing aids. Other ways that there are other options that allow for fine tuning of the hearing aids. One of them is within the app. There is an equalizer tool. So after the hearing aids have been programmed for you, if you find that when you're out in the field that maybe things, they could use a little bit more bass, or that maybe there's a little too much treble or things like that, you can actually go into the app and make some fine tuning of the hearing aids using an equalizer function. It kind of reminds like an old equalizer on a home stereo system. And then one of the other great new features that we've just introduced this fall for the Unitron hearing aids is that there's the option for, depending on the adjustment that you need, you may not even need to go actually into Dr. Hyman's office. Through the app on your phone, she has the ability to make some adjustments to the programming of the hearing aids and can push them to you via your phone. And so you can just update your hearing aids via the app without having to go in for an in-person appointment. That can be really handy if like you're traveling and are having trouble. It might be something she can kind of send a programming adjustment as kind of like a Band-Aid until you can get in for an in-person appointment. So lots of flexibility in that regard. Another question that comes up is, questions about batteries, and am I going to have to hassle with batteries? Because we know that for some individuals, having to change batteries, depending on the size of the battery and the degree of the hearing loss, if they're wearing a binaural pair of hearing aids, they could be changing 100 batteries per year, or 50 per device, once a week type of thing, adds up pretty quickly. So there are now all kinds of options for lithium-ion rechargeable hearing aids. Super, super convenient. You don't have to worry about, think about batteries or anything like that anymore. Just at the end of the day, when you're done wearing your hearing aids, you take them off, you put them in the charger case, they automatically turn off and start charging. And they'll charge overnight while you're sleeping. Usually, in most cases, they don't need anything more than 3 hours to get to a full charge. And then in the morning, when you're up and ready to get your next day started, you take them out of the charger case, they automatically turn on, and you can put them on and you're on your way. And you get a full day's use out of them without having to any other fuss or having to worry about anything like that. So the convenience of lithium-ion rechargeables now has really been a major advancement for a lot of people who just don't want to have to hassle with changing batteries, or maybe if you struggle with if your sensitivity in your fingers isn't as good as what it used to be, you have that ability to not have to fool with changing the batteries or simply putting them in the charger case. Another area, we know that for a lot of people, watching TV, either alone or as part with family members sitting down and watching TV in the evening is important. So people want to know how are their hearing aids going to potentially work with their televisions. For a lot of people, just the act of wearing hearing aids, allow you, because you're making sounds louder with the hearing aids, gets the ability to kind of turn down the volume on the TV. And I know for a lot of people, the volume of the television is often one of the points of contention that sometimes can kind of push the discussion of somebody coming in and looking at what their options might be to get help for their hearing. If hearing aids, just wearing hearing aids on their own isn't quite enough, there are accessories such as our TV connector. This is a great little device. I've got one here. I can hold up. Small little box, kind of like a big oversized Oreo almost. But you plug this box into an audio port on your television, and it streams the stereo signal from your TV directly into your hearing aids. So it allows you as the hearing aid wearer, you can watch the TV at a volume that's comfortable for you, and it doesn't affect other people in the room. So everybody's able to watch TV at at a volume level that's comfortable for them. So I think that's a fantastic little option out there as well. So through all of that, you're kind of getting here towards the top of the hour. So, kind of, I think all of this, when we talk about all of these different features, we've got spatial awareness, speech pro, Bluetooth connectivity, rechargeable, all of these things that are going on in the hearing aids. And so one of the things that can almost be a little bit daunting about this is, well, how do I know what's the right hearing aid for me? What's going to be the best solution to work for me and where I spend my time and my environments. So one of the great things about our hearing aids is, and this is something that's another kind of uniqueness to Unitron hearing aids, is that log it all feature that I mentioned earlier. This is a feature in our hearing aids that it helps to analyze your lifestyle. So while you're wearing, either while you're wearing the demo hearing aids that Dr. Hyman gives you, or hearing aids, if you've already purchased hearing aids, this feature is there and it's collecting information about what type of environments you're in, what is your listening lifestyle. And then that can help to inform, provide data for a discussion with Dr. Hyman about, well, what is the best level of technology for you based on where you spend your time and the environments that you spend your time in. And this is, you're just kind of showing like from a couple of screenshots from the fitting software. I'm not going to get too hung up in this right now, but it just basically allows, once you've been wearing the demo hearing aids, for example, and you come back in, Dr. Hyman can hook them up to the software, and it actually shows how much time you spend in the different listening environments. And in this case, looking at the 9 level of technology, we can see that the hearing aid actually has all of the features for all 7 of the different environment categories. But then it can also show that if we go with a lower level of technology, such as with the 7 level, it shows you, which features you're not going to have when we go to that lower level, and it shows you how often those features were getting used. So this can be a very powerful tool, to kind of really, so that you can have confidence that you're making the best selection for you based on what types of listening environments you're actually spending time in. Okay. So it all kind of comes down to that idea then of trying to figure out what is the right solution for you. And so I would say it starts from, and this font doesn't show up real well on the screen, I apologize for that, but it starts from a risk-free trial. And Dr. Hyman will talk about this here a little bit as I wrap up and we do some of the Q&A. But you have an opportunity to come in, be fit with a pair of these demo hearing aids, and take them out and try them in your real world. Take them out, take them for a test drive, kind of kick the tires a little bit. When you come back in for the follow-up visit, Dr. Hyman hooks them up to the computer and can actually review that data to see what type of environments you spent time in. And then with that information, the two of you together can have a conversation about what's going to be the best solution for you out of all of the different options that are there, and kind of understand what your choices will be. And then at that point, the decision really is yours. Dr. Hyman is there as a partner for you to be able to kind of, talk about the information, what she would suggest based on that, and then recognize, any other considerations that you might like interest in rechargeable or, remote control accessories or things of that nature. Okay. So that's kind of my introduction of the product line. So Dr. Hyman, are you there with us? We can come back on here and maybe kind of talk about any Q&A that we might have from the group.
Oh, absolutely. And Susan, okay to bring you in?
It might be my speaker. Sorry, hang on.
100.
Let's try that. There, now I can hear you.
All right.
Hey there. Okay, so thank you so much, Bill, for giving us this insight and telling us, not just about the technology, but how do you even begin to consider choosing from all the styles and levels of technology and all that. So good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're very welcome. I think I'm sure you see this in your data. I think for a lot of people, there's so many choices that it can become a bit daunting. Like, where do I start? And so I think we just try to, I find this is, helpful for people, just kind of like, let's unpack some of the common questions, and then ultimately realizing that it's going to come down to when you've got that data, and they can sit down with you and try to figure out for me as an individual, what's the best solution going to be?
Absolutely. Yes. And so like he was saying, And because of this company, Unitron, they created a paradigm shift for not only me, but a lot of audiologists around the country about 5 years ago or so, where they said, hey, why don't you let people take the hearing aids home, use the data logging, find out more about them and their lifestyle, so if they choose hearing aids, they choose what's best for them. And so we've been doing that since 2015. I absolutely love the process. And so Unitron allows us to have hearing aids here in the office that you could try. So you know our phone number. Call us. We can let you listen to the latest technology. I know that Lucilla had a question about how much does a consultation cost. So our consultation is pretty comprehensive. It's not just the hearing test. We're asking you to complete questionnaires about your lifestyle. It does include speech and noise testing. It includes setting up the hearing aids using real ear measurement, and also the follow-up care, your oral rehab program. So the whole thing, like it takes about 3 to 4 weeks, costs $220, which is significantly cheaper than what all of our time involves. But we're making certain that we're not missing anything, and that includes you taking those hearing aids home. So some places like charge you for the hearing aids to borrow. Some places charge, for a lot of things, but they don't do all of that either. We're a part of what's called the Dr. Cliff Olson Network, where we signed off and everything was checked that we do all of the best practices, we swear, and that's why people come hours to come see our practice, because we're the real deal. We don't cut corners. Let's see. Paul had a good question about cross-by-cross systems. Does Unitron have one right now?
Oh, okay. So yeah, that's a great question. So in the Unitron product line, we don't have a product that is like a dedicated cross or by-cross product, that it's not limited to that's all it does. Now, what you can do with our hearing aids, because for a lot of people, where if they might be a candidate for a cross or a by-cross, and maybe for those that are listening, that maybe like, what are these words that we're hearing here? A cross, or a by-cross, these are specific types of hearing aids that are usually designed for people that have either normal hearing or a mild hearing loss in one ear, and then they've got a much more significant or worse hearing or no hearing at all in their other ear. And so these are systems that are designed to kind of, you wear, a microphone on the bad ear side, and it picks up the sound from the bad ear and it transfers it over so that you can hear it in the better ear. In the Unitron product line, we don't have a product that is a dedicated cross or by-cross system, but one of the cool things is that within our hearing aids, we can create a cross or by-cross program, because what we find sometimes for people that have this type of a hearing loss, there are some circumstances where it's beneficial to wear just the one hearing aid on the better ear, and then there are times where it's helpful to have the system on the other ear. So you have the ability that we can create a cross program or a by-cross program, and you can switch back and forth between a cross program and a regular hearing aid program. So you've got that flexibility. Again, it's about flexibility for us.
Yeah. And then he's asking, also they have their newest line, the Discover Next, has a companion mic, which is super cool that it connects to a hearing aid. Used to be hearing aids that connected to your cell phones or were like this new technology, couldn't have a remote mic. Well, now it has a really cute companion mic that you could give to someone else for streaming. I just thought, I know, Paul, so I thought I would add that. You might like that. And he's also asking about rechargeable batteries and how many hours. What's in a full day? If someone
okay, that's another good question.
Hearing aids, and also, just to add to that, because I know, Paul, including streaming for work, let's say, and having conference calls and all of that, what's a typical day?
Sure. Okay. So the biggest impact on like battery life, like number of hours of use in a day, is really it's driven by how much streaming we're doing. In our products, I would say like a full, like if you were to be streaming for a full 8 hours, you would expect about 16 hours of total use of the hearing aids on a single charge. So 16 hours of use, including 8 of that being while streaming, either either like phone calls, like if you're actually on a conference call, or if you're just listening to audio, not having to actively participate, but just listening to audio. You would say it's 16 hours, and then less streaming from there. You're going to go up to over 24 hours of use on a single charge. So we generally, anywhere from 16 to 24 hours is pretty typical, depending on how much streaming the person is doing. Hopefully, folks are getting some sleep somewhere in that 24-hour period, so the hearing aids have a chance to recharge and reset there. But yeah, that's what we would normally expect.
Yeah. Awesome. And Paul loves the idea of the trial process. It makes sure that you get the best aid for your locations, for sure. Yeah, it's just the most brilliant idea ever.
Yeah. No, it's a good one.
Yeah.
What else?
Who wants to answer this one? TV connector.
Oh, the TV connector. Okay, yes.
It can be used with any television. Yep, anything with an audio out. And then I'll also add the TV connector. I refer to it too like a media connector. You can connect that little black box into any audio out. So you can connect it into your laptop, stereo, anything, and bring the sound in stereo to both ears. So it's a great accessory.
So I know you broke up a little bit.
Yep.
So she's saying it doesn't have to be a TV connector. She calls it, what did you call it?
I called it a media connector.
A media connector.
Yep, media connector.
Yep.
Yeah. Perfect.
Yes, because you can plug it into anything.
Don't have to wear an echo
out. Yep.
Perfect.
Okay.
There are some TVs that are smart TVs, right? That have Bluetooth in them.
Yeah.
Do they need a TV connector?
So there's our recommendation, right? Yeah, the smart TVs, and having Bluetooth in them has become a more common thing, and you can pair the smart TVs directly to the hearing aids so that you can stream directly from the TV to the hearing aids. There are a couple of things. Sometimes there's a trade-off, because we would actually suggest that using the TV connector is going to be a better option than pairing to the Bluetooth. And there's a couple reasons for that. The hearing aids can remember two different Bluetooth devices. So if I have my work phone, I have a phone, and I have a tablet. There's my two devices. If I go pair to the TV as well, the hearing aids are going to forget one of the other two devices. So I would just have to repair to my phone or repair to my tablet when I wanted to switch from the TV. So there's that just kind of hassle factor to things. Bluetooth also, from a sound processing perspective, Bluetooth as a wireless technology, there's a little bit of what we call like a signal latency, meaning there's a slight delay to the signal when we transmit via Bluetooth. And if you're doing like a phone call or something like that where you can't see the person's face, it doesn't really matter, because you don't notice that latency. But like if you're watching TV and if the audio is just slightly delayed, it kind of looks like the audio doesn't quite match with when people are speaking on screen, and that can be a little bit annoying. In some cases, it can look like a badly dubbed film, depending on the TV, things like that. So the TV connector is a nice option because it does not have that signal latency that we do with the traditional Bluetooth of the smart TV. So I think those are kind of my two reasons where I would encourage using a TV connector instead of the Bluetooth. But if the person wants to try it, there's absolutely can do that.
Great. Okay, so thank you so much for both of you coming, and thank you all of our patients and those who have never come to our office yet, but hopefully will come. We are here for you. You can call and ask questions. If you don't know our email address, it is info@helpingyourhearing.com. So I'll type that in. If you have any questions that arise that you have for Susan or Bill, please just ask, and if I don't know the answer, we'll find out. But the Discover Next hearing aid is pretty fantastic, and everyone that's wearing it right now are really excited because they are smaller than the previous generation, but they are rechargeable. You can get the non-rechargeable, and they connect to anything. It doesn't have to be an iPhone, which is really neat.
Great. Well, thanks for having us here. This was a lot of fun. Hopefully it was helpful.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah. Yes, I think this will help a lot of people. Have a great day. Enjoy your fall.
All right, guys. Thank you.
Thanks, Paul.
Thank you.
Thanks, Lucilla. Thank you, Kathy and
you.
Jerry.
You're very welcome.
Who
Thank
else
you.
is
You guys
still
have a great
here?
week.
Bye. Thank you. Take
Bye.
care.